Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Have you ever noticed how some days seem to move easily while other days feel heavy even before they begin? In my experience, this isn't a random phenomenon. Instead, it has a lot to do with the energetic field we're living inside of. And this includes our beings, our space, our rhythm, and what we are unconsciously reinforcing. Namaste and welcome to the Spiritual Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra Savithri Amba, director of the American Reiki Academy and the Vedic Healing Center. I'm a Reiki master, Vedic healing priestess, spiritual guide, and I've spent more than 3 decades studying, practicing, and teaching healing and spiritual self-development. I've also led beautiful pilgrimages to India, where I've studied with blessed spiritual teachers. In this podcast, I share reflections on energy, space, healing, consciousness, and how subtle shifts create real change in our everyday lives. So welcome to this episode, and I am recording this at the beginning of January, 2 weeks into January. This episode is entitled A Different Way to Begin the New Year. The last time I recorded an episode, it was the end of December, and I did that episode. I offered that episode as a way to close out the year. So now we are in January, and at this point we are 2 weeks into the new year, and I thought it would be interesting to record an episode that emphasized what I do at the beginning of my new year and how these techniques can help you, the dear listener, as you move into a powerful new year and ultimately new expression of you. So most people think that change begins with a decision. We make a decision. We set a goal, we have a plan, or a resolution. Typically, around New Year's, we all make these New Year resolutions in the West. And although these are great, I want to say that in my experience, real change begins before that. And it begins often quietly in ways we don't recognize as productive. So there is a phase in manifestation that comes before momentum. It becomes before clarity, before setting goals, before action. And that phase is not empty. Just like I spoke about the time in between the winter solstice and the end of the year as being potent and alive with possibility, this phase also that we are in is alive with possibility. It's not empty, this phase before we step into action. It is a formative space. So many people enter this phase feeling unsettled, restless, tired, or kind of, let's say, compelled to clean, to set goals, to set New Year's resolutions, and then to get going with those things. But because our culture values visible action, we often interpret anything else as being procrastination or confusion. But actually, this energy before the active phase is a time of reorientation, and it has to do with feminine energy. It's part of the process of manifestation. So spiritually and energetically, this phase before you actually start to bring your dreams into reality is highly important. It's your system recalibrating or rearranging itself. You can make the best plans in the world, but if the energy field you are living in hasn't shifted, then those plans will struggle to take root. So I want to suggest that life does not respond to intention alone. It responds to conditions. And this is something I've seen again and again in healing work, in spiritual practice, and in my own life. People do deep inner work. They set intentions, and then they still feel like nothing is moving, or they haven't quite mastered the game of manifestation. And often again, this is because the environment they're living in, their space, their routines, their surroundings, and their own being as well. So your space is not just the physical environment, is all of these things are quietly reinforcing an old identity. And I'm not talking about the decor around you. I'm talking about space as a living participant in your life. So physical space and inner space. All space holds memory. It reflects who you have been, not always who you are becoming. And before a big life shift can happen, something subtle has to change first. So this can be the way you relate to your physical space or your inner space, what you will tolerate, what you will not tolerate, what you're ready to let go of. And January, this month of January, is a time when this becomes especially visible and especially powerful. Not because it's a time for pushing forward, but because it's a time when the system naturally wants to reset and again recalibrate so that you can set yourself up for a powerful year. If you're listening now and wondering, okay, I understand this, but what to do with this? I want to offer a few simple, grounded ways to work with this phase early January before you get in full motion. And this will pertain to both your outer space and your inner space at the same time. So first, choose one small physical area of your home. This can be a desk, a corner, a drawer, and bring it into order. Not perfection, just enough to feel clarity. And as you do this, notice what shifts internally. Because here's the interesting thing. Often the nervous system settles before the mind does. So just creating a small change in your space can settle your nervous system and therefore set you up for very powerful manifestation later on. Second, before adding anything new this year, new goals, new plans, your endless to-do list, new commitments, resolutions, pause and ask yourself what wants to be released, internally or externally. So clearing doesn't always mean throwing things away. Sometimes it means letting go of an expectation, a way of being that no longer serves you, some kind of pressure in your life, or an old storyline that no longer represents you. And third, pay attention to avoidance, both in your space and in yourself. See, if there's a room you don't like to enter, or a feeling inside of you that you tend to bypass, just become a little curious about why you are feeling this discord or this unease. Because avoidance often points to something asking for attention and care. And actually, when you confront that, whatever area that avoidance lives in, you step into your power more fully. And you realize that this avoidance was actually fear being masked. So finally, pause before planning. Allow both your inner field and your outer environment to settle down first. Any kind of clarity tends to arise naturally once the energy field is aligned. And again, when I talk about energy field, I'm talking about your physical energy field, the space that you're living in, and your internal energy field right around your body. So your space is an extension of your internal energy. When your internal energy is settled, then your external energy can support you. And it works the other way too, from the outside in. So in manifestation, we work from the inside out. You may have heard me talk about be, do, have, and you work on increasing your beingness so that you can do what you're here to do, so that you can have all the beautiful blessings. But it can also work the other way, from your outer space in. The problem with that is if you just work with the outer space, it will never quite feed you. There will always be more. There will always be endless quests. And that's why, as spiritual practitioners, we understand the beautiful balance between the inner world and the outer world, and the really nice play, the dance that there is between both of them. So when you start working from both sides, saying, I'm going to make myself as peaceful, centered, grounded, loving, balanced as I can, and that will affect everything I do and I have. When you work that way, you start to draw magic into your world. But at the same time, When you work with your physical space, you also draw magic into your world. So I'm not asking you to make it an either or. I'm suggesting that you work with the internal space within your being and also your external space. Let them dance together. Let them support one another. So I hope this gave you some sense of inspiration. If you feel like you're between chapters right now as we start the new year, and you feel a little unsettled, or like, oh, the new year started and everything's so busy and I haven't quite gotten organized. I've heard people say that I'm not organized yet for the new year. I'm not ready for the new year. Then just pause. You're not behind. You're not behind in any way. You're right where you are supposed to be. And when you pause and move into this phase before the manifestation, this is where the power lies. Because in setting the field and saying to yourself, I'm going to take control of my field, my energetic field, both internally and externally, this is where you start to set the stage for the magical experience of manifestation. This is not the phase to force anything. It's the phase to let alignment catch up with your desires. So earlier I used the word recalibration. Take this time, give yourself the gift, I would say, of this time to recalibrate everything. Don't allow society or any external pressure to push you into the new year, like you have to catch up. Oh my gosh, everybody's rushing. I better get going. No, 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 no. You're in control of your energy field. And when you understand that, you set yourself up for powerful manifestation. And not only that, but you make it a priority, actually, to claim that space before manifestation can occur. So this year, I'm paying attention to what shifts before change becomes visible in life. And I'm trusting, and I'm urging you to trust that when the field around you and within you is right, movement happens naturally. And when I say right, I don't mean right like right and wrong. I mean you set it to a space that feels good to you. It resonates with you. There's no right and wrong, but when the field resonates, you know that movement is going to happen naturally. No rush, no forcing, just listening, just being. And this is how all spiritual energy works. First, recalibrating. First, putting attention on the beingness of you, the practitioner, and your space. How is your space being around you? When you look at your space, how is it? How is it being? It's interacting with your world every day. How is it being, and how can you improve it, enhance it, so that it helps you? I always say this in my feng shui classes. There is a principle in feng shui that's very interesting that says, when you honor the space you are in, that space gives back to you. It will naturally propel you to the next beautiful space in your life, wherever that may be. Maybe it will just be a vacation. Doesn't mean you have to move. Maybe it will be a temporary relocation because something catastrophic is happening in your life, in your space, that requires some kind of shift. But when you honor your space and you make it so beautiful so that there's no avoidance. You don't walk into a room in your space and say, I hate this room. It's oppressive. Let me shut the door. No, each and every space in your house feels lovely, feels uplifting, feels honoring. And we do that within also by honoring the body as the temple of the divine. Eating good food, drinking good water, having appropriate sleep, doing our exercise, doing our yoga, doing our meditation, and all of these things work together. So I hope this was helpful. Begin your January in a space of expectancy for the new year, but don't forget to pause. We're 2 weeks into January, so if you didn't pause and recalibrate, I'm suggesting that you do that now. And if you did, then fantastic. Keep going. And if you're still doing it, I'm still working on some things as I get into my projects for the year, then keep going. And enjoy this wonderful journey, no matter what. Enjoy this existence here and allow yourself to dance through the environment you find yourself in, the internal environment and the external environment. Om Asatoma Sagamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Om Sai Ram. Jai Guruji. Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya.